seeing the bags of meal passed hand to hand, in close-up by the aid workers, and soldiers firing over the mob, I was braced again with a grip on two sack corners, two packed wads of grain I'd worked to lugs to give me purchase, ready for the heave. The eye to eye, 1-2, 1-2 upswing, onto the trailer, then the stoop and drag and drain of the next lift. Nothing surpassed that quick unburdening, back breaks, truest payback, a letting go which will not come again, or it will once and for all. Taking a comfortable seat, feet flat, lengthening the back just a little bit, if that's comfortable, letting the shoulders drop. Lengthening the neck as well. Just a millimeter, 2 millimeters. And then softening the muscles of the face, forehead, feeling the attention there. And down into the neck. Throat, the chest. Taking off the armor, the diving suit, however you like to imagine it. And then letting it all soften again. Belly, the thighs, the calves. Just gently place your hands on your lap, face up if that's comfortable. Just imagine, if you will, the walls of the room widening just a little bit, the ceiling a little higher. Allowing a little more space. To include whatever you woke up with today or what's waiting for you. Deepening the breath from 3 counts in, 4 counts out. To 4 counts in. Count out to 5 if you can. Now we're all here. Just stepping back from the thoughts passing through your head. Emotions, beliefs that come to mind. Old things that happen. And if you're noticing them, you're doing the work. That's what this meditation is for. Bringing the breathing back. 3 counts in, keeping everything soft, undefended. The room a little wider. Human chain. Seeing the bags of meal passed hand to hand in close-up by the aid workers and soldiers firing over the mob, I was braced again with a grip on 2 sack corners, 2 packed wads of grain I'd worked to lugs to give me purchase, ready for the heave. The eye to eye, 1, 2, 1, 2 upswing onto the trailer, then the stoop and drag and drain of the next lift. Nothing surpassed that quick unburdening, back breaks, truest payback, a letting go, which will not come again, or it will, once and for all. I think about Judith Bowles' poem, when I read this, because it's set up similarly. The speaker of the poem is watching footage of these bags of meal being passed hand to hand by the aid workers and the soldiers there firing at the mob. And the first feeling that comes to me is the helplessness that we all experience, starting with really the Vietnam War, watching the Vietnam War on TV, on into the present, where we have a live stream now of troubles, atrocities, horrors that are going on all across the planet. So he's watching from a distance, the way in the Mudita poem, Married for Life, the speaker is thinking back to that handhold that occurred in bed that morning. This is a different kind of handhold, isn't it? And he has this memory of County Derry. Seamus Heaney grew up in County Derry in Northern Ireland, surrounded by what he called big-voiced scullion people. They were people of the earth. And he did a lot of manual labor growing up with his father. In fact, his first poem is called Digging. And he talks in that poem about how his pen in his hand is the way that he will dig with the world, or dig into the world. So here he remembers this moment of manual labor. He has a grip on the two sack corners, these wads of grain that you can really feel in your hands, worked to lugs so that he can heave them onward. And it's this moment where he is one part of a human chain. It reminds me so much of that illusion of water and wave in Thich Nhat Hanh, that a wave has a lifespan, that a wave has a height, and it's at its highest at one point and its lowest at another. And it seems like it's an individual thing, but to the water, that means nothing. So he's both wave and water here. He's both link and the entire chain, carrying this one bag of grain in each moment that ends up going onward and helping far off. But maybe he can't even see the end results of that help. And I love it too as a poem that is about poetry, because it's dedicated to Terence Brown, who was not an aid worker, but a teacher of poetry at Trinity College in Dublin. So we see underneath the surface of this truly political poem, which is about compassion's holding on, it's also a poem about what a poet is doing in the world and where his poems or her poems are going beyond their sight. Each one poem is kind of heaved and let go, heaved and let go, heaved and let go. And it's very fitting. This is one of the last poems that Seamus Heaney wrote. He died in 2012. This book came out in 2010. Ultimately, it is a poem about letting go. It's about saying, this is my work, and now it passes on to the next generation and the next. Those last lines, that quick unburdening, back breaks truest payback, a letting go which will not come again, or it will, once and for all. It's the moment where he thinks about the end of a long day's work, of throwing these sacks of grain, and how it's over. And then he takes it into a cathedral, and he talks about how death is ultimately like throwing that last sack of grain once and for all. To me, writing a poem is once and for all. One of my first teachers told me not to think about my poems as mine after they're finished, but to enter them as one drop into the lake of poetry. I bring this up because of the event that occurred this week around aid trucks in Gaza City. And I read this just to extend love to those families. Human chain. Seeing the bags of meal passed hand to hand in close by the aid workers and soldiers firing over the mob, I was braced again. With a grip on two sack corners, two packed wads of grain, I'd worked to lugs to give me purchase, ready for the heave, the eye to eye, 1-2, 1-2 upswing onto the trailer. Then the stoop and drag and drain of the next lift. Nothing surpassed that quick unburdening, back break's truest payback, a letting go which will not come again, or it will, once and for all. Getting back into that comfortable seat, feet flat. Hands facing upward on the lap. Just opening the heart in that spirit of undefendedness. It's a little scary. I strip it away and then I read this poem again and suddenly the flood. But that's what it's asking. Letting the shoulders drop. Softening the muscles in the back of the neck and around the throat. This poem captures the whole action. Reaching out, holding on, stepping back, letting go. But it's really about letting go. It's really about upekkha. So the question I ask in the second half is, what did you wake up with that you can pass along in that once and for all heave? and feel it in your hands like those lugs. And toss it forward. This is Thich Nhat Hanh. A notion to be removed is lifespan. We think that we exist only from this point in time until this point in time, and we suffer because of that notion. If we look deeply, we will know that we have never been born and we will never die. A wave is born and dies, is higher or lower, more or less beautiful. But you can't apply these notions to water. When we see this, our fear will suddenly vanish. It's deepening the breath. Four counts in. Five counts out. An insult is a bag of grain. A worry is a bag of grain. This moment is a bag of grain. If you find your mind racing or you're lost in your thoughts, remember that that's the whole point. That's you meditating. That's you watching and noticing. This is how mindfulness can be activism. By being present, you're contributing to that chain or that wave. Last minute, just bringing your breath back to 3 counts in, 4 counts out. Maybe putting your hand on whatever place in your body that needs to release its own bag of grain. Reaching out, holding on, stepping back, letting go. Human Chain by Seamus Heaney. Seeing the bags of meal passed hand to hand in close-up by the aid workers and soldiers firing over the mob, I was braced again with a grip on 2 sack corners, 2 packed wads of grain I'd worked to lugs to give me purchase, ready for the heave. The eye to eye 1-2, 1-2 upswing onto the trailer, then the stoop and drag and drain of the next lift. Nothing surpassed that quick unburdening, back breaks, truest payback, a letting go which will not come again, or it will once and for all.